kind of book. Welcome to another episode of the Supper Club. The Supper Club brought to you by Kuna Food Service, a family-owned tradition since 1918. The Pasta House Company Restaurants. Lordo's Diamonds, your family jeweler for life. Oliva on the Hill. Barquette Realty, nationwide real estate investor. And Fresta Limoncello. Keep sipping, my friends. Welcome back to the Supper Club. My name's Joe Fresta, brought to you by Kuna Food Service. We're here with the head men's soccer coach with St. Louis University, Mr. Kevin Kalish. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Buddy,
it.
Thanks for coming,
yeah,
man.
For sure.
You guys are already rolling,
Yep,
right? Season's going. You're
10 games in.
10 games in. You're ranked number 8 currently.
Yep, at the moment, yep.
Right? Doing well in conference play. Undefeated, I believe.
Yep, just started. We're 2-0 at the moment, yep.
Yeah. Well, I want to get back into more about you and your whole soccer journey. You know, like me, as a St. Louis kid. You grew up in North County, though, in
Yep.
Florissant, which was a huge soccer, mecca, if you will,
Yep.
in St. Louis, much like South St. Louis, where I grew up. You went to St. Ferdinand.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
Didn't you guys have a big CYC tournament there once a year?
Yeah, St. Sabina.
you and I are a little bit different.
Yeah, St. Sabina had a
Was
big...
it St. Sabina?
Yeah, we had a big one as well.
And St. Anne, I think.
Yes, Our Lady of Loretto up there had a big tournament. But yeah, it was just... I always say it's like lightning in a bottle that time where it was all about, the community and soccer was just such a huge part of all of our lives growing up through the CYC.
Yeah, and I think our parents, grandparents, like my dad played a lot of soccer. He was a big soccer guy. Growing up on the Hill, you know the history there.
100%.
With all the guys that went and played in the World Cup and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, such a rich soccer community. I played a lot in grade school, loved it. Played at Epiphany here in South St. Louis. And this was before the Interbelt. Before 170. We'd make the trek all the way up to St. Anne and playing that tournament. It was a big deal.
And it was. I think, one of the things that I think, my son never got to experience, and even the current generation, but the CYC was extremely competitive.
Oh, big
right?
time.
And I think, when you grow up and you played for your school, but you also played a little club soccer along with it, it was just a great balance. And, we were fortunate just to always have players older than us that were special and quite good that we had to look up to. And, high school games under the lights, or even CYC games where you're competing up against all the different parishes. It was a special time.
Even in grade school, like when you're like in 4th grade or 5th grade, you looked up to the 7th and 8th graders,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you'd be practicing on the same fields and you'd be looking over at the older guys.
100%.
That kind of thing. So yeah,
it just seemed at that time and place. Especially in the soccer community, for that matter, it was very interconnected.
Right.
I think in North, you knew all the top players in North County, a couple years older than you, a couple years younger than you. You kind of trained, and there's only a couple clubs that you kind of really focused and trained with, and it was just a really unique time, I think, in the game in St. Louis, and very, very fortunate to grow up during that time period.
The other thing too that kind of connected us were the journals. Remember the South Side Journal?
Oh yeah,
and the North Side Journal, and they would do articles.
That was a big deal.
And then that's how we would read about each other.
That's right.
More so in high school.
Yep.
They would cover players and whatnot in all the sports, but soccer a big one.
Oh yeah.
When did you catch? At what age did you catch the soccer bug? Like, when did you know, man?
So my dad coached my brother a little bit, and my brother played. My sister played a little bit. But then when I was a third child, my dad really kind of put together a really special team. We were Dalton Construction back in the day.
Okay.
Was our name back? Yeah, that was our sponsor. Right?
Kind of like Kudus in South St. Louis.
Yeah,
right?
construction company, North County, and
And then, at the 8, we were, again, like, I think for our first, all the way from U8 to U11, I think we only lost 1 or 2 games, and just really, just a really good young team that was good for that age group. You know, we had a big rival named Lordo's Diamonds was back in the you know, so
Right.
it was just for some old fun names, and then we transitioned to Scott Gallagher when we were right around U12.
Yeah, Lordo's Diamonds, a sponsor of the Supper Club.
There you go. Perfect.
Little plug for one of our sponsors.
That's right. That's right. They've been a long time.
Great guys. North County Italians.
100%.
Grew up in North County. Yeah. They probably played a little soccer when they were kids too, I bet. But
yeah, and it was fun. It was just you know, it was very family oriented. You went when you went on trips and on vacations. It was built around soccer tournaments. You built some strong relationships. All my best friends today are still part of these teams.
Was this the first travel team you played for?
Yeah, it
and
was.
You were
yeah.
how old? How old were you?
Yeah, I think you know between that 10 and 12. You know,
Yeah,
right
that's
around
when you
there.
start
They
getting
just
into
started
it.
again. You didn't go too far. We went to Colorado. I think was the farthest, but you went and tried to play some top teams and around the area. And but yeah, it was just a special time.
Yeah, it's great. And then of course they had the Bush teams that came around. I don't know if you played on any of those teams or.
Yeah, so whenever my right around the age of 12 or 13, I ended up going over to Scott Gallagher, and at that point my dad quit coaching me, and I coached for a legendary coach named Mark Dorsey, who's been a long-time coach in the area and currently runs KTRS.
Oh sure, yeah.
So
absolutely.
Mark's a great guy, one of my mentors, and coached me all through like maybe the the early middle school days.
Wow.
And so again, I think your life revolves around the game, and your friendships revolve around the game, and like I said, really prepared me well going into high school.
And you start playing all year round.
Yeah,
You just start really getting
I think
serious
you're still
about
playing
it.
for your. The unique thing now is now they play full time. They don't do high school, or they don't do they don't do parish ball anymore. I think at that time we still did.
Yeah.
Which I think I'm very grateful for having that opportunity.
Yeah, the parochial leagues. I remember back.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do. I don't think they do.
I think we were
those
kind of one of the
anymore.
last few that kind of went through that.
And then you go into high school.
Yep.
St. Thomas Aquinas Mercy.
Yep.
Right.
Played for Vince Drake.
Then
Aquinas has always been known for a powerhouse, right? North County school, private school, but always known for soccer.
Great soccer school.
Yeah, right across the street from Flow Valley, which Pete Silver built up.
Right.
And they had unbelievable success, and so it was like we were in that soccer bubble right there in North County, where again a lot of great players.
Talk about Pete a little bit. Just passed away at the age of 95.
Yep.
Coached a Supper Club alumni, Tony Pietoso, who's a world famous restaurateur.
Yeah.
But he coached Tony when he was just a young kid at Flow Valley.
Okay.
Yeah. Talk
Look,
about Pete.
I never had the pleasure of playing for one of Pete's teams, but obviously, he would always have these open gym nights at Flow Valley where anyone could come up, show up and play. And I was a young.
In the gyms?
In the gyms.
So it was like hock sock.
Yes, that's right.
I remember, my dad would take me down to the Armory.
Okay.
When I was a kid.
Yep.
And he played with the Pisani brothers were down there and all his buddies.
Yep.
And we played hock sock. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was.
Now you're bringing back all these
I
memories.
know,
I
right?
love this.
And honestly, that's where you start watching. Obviously Mike would come and play, and like guys like Matt McEwen, and guys that were really, really special players in North County at that time that were a couple years older than me. But then it was a collection of different individuals. Some guys that played at Flow, some guys just through North County. But it was just open, and anybody who wanted to play could play. You're playing multiple years up, and it's kind of it wasn't something that I would say we did all the time, but it was just a memory that I had as a youth player that made a strong impression on me. Just because you're nervous.
Yeah, because you're playing against older guys.
Older guys, you don't really know, but Pete always had this calming, inviting presence.
Well, guys probably knew when he was there. Hey, this is just for fun.
Yeah,
we're not out here.
It got a little competitive, but not overly competitive.
Right.
Yeah, more for improvement and just enjoy the game.
Do you think that hock sock helped you with you got more touches? Right.
Yep.
You had to learn the ball handling skills in tighter spaces.
100%.
Move the ball. That had to help your game tremendously, which then led into what became indoor soccer.
Yeah, exactly.
Still a little bit smaller.
Yeah, totally. No, and I think so much of it is just you're playing the game, and it's like today's environments are very professional and structured and organized. I think the coaching
today is actually, it's so professionalized. You have so many good coaches now, and but back then there's something to be said for just going and playing the game and learning by experience and learning by watching players and learning by just going out and letting the game teach itself in some ways. And I think Pete did an unbelievable job of creating this ecosystem or this mecca of just guys who were very quality individuals who played the game and the soccer was just important, and it kind of was part of the culture of North County at the time, and he played a big part of that.
Part of it. Yeah. Did he play soccer himself?
That's a good question. I believe so, but that would be, I don't know exactly.
He just really loved the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I know. I remember at his recent funeral. I know. Mike talked about his upbringing and when he got offered the job at Flow, and prior to that, what he was doing. So I don't know if he actually played prior to that, but I know he had a great career.
Yeah, big name in soccer. Like the Trost. We can go.
Yeah,
you could probably name a few more you want to throw in there. But so you go on your high school career. You win 2 state championships.
Yeah, that was really special.
Big. Yeah. You get your first taste of championship.
Yeah, what it's like to win.
Competition, what it takes to get there.
And playing with a lot of different types of levels of players.
Right.
I mean, your classmates, there's a lot of guys who did obviously play at a high level and went on to play in college or whatnot, but there's also a lot of guys who, were just great high school players.
What class were you? Were you a junior?
So I was a sophomore and junior when we won our state title. We actually lost our senior year. Which is a little bit still a little bitter right now.
Yeah, right. It never goes away, does it?
Especially when one of your best friends was the goalkeeper on the opposition who beat you.
Yeah, it's your senior year, right?
Yeah. And you're expected. Everybody has these expectations.
I tell you, my buddies that I played with at CBC hockey now, but it's the same. It's competition.
Yeah.
It still kind of stings a little bit. But it makes you grow as a person.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you, I won a state championship, but also lost one. Lost a couple of them actually, but it kind of gives you
perspective.
It's how you grow up,
That's
right?
right.
You got to learn how to lose and what to take away from it. You learn how to win. You have to learn how to win gracefully.
Yep.
Right. And take those tools and move on, and then you were all state. What? How many?
Yeah, so was an All-American in high school.
All-American.
Yeah, and All-State as well. So yeah, just had a really,
was that Parade Magazine?
Yeah, remember those? The publications that came out. That was those are the things that you remember as a youth. Just the camaraderie and the state title. And I think you mentioned losing actually makes the 2 wins even that much special.
I remember at CBC there were a couple of guys, and you know these guys, Gerald Duran.
Oh yeah.
And a guy named Mike Menendez.
Okay, yeah.
And I think they both were. Parade.
I'm sure they were. Yeah, I know Darryl was for sure. Yeah,
great players, man.
There's a handful of guys over the years that, you can go down the list. That's the one thing great about St. Louis. Just so many talented players coming out of this market over the years, and the great thing is it just keeps continuing to this day. But the high school years, playing at Coke Park, playing in front of a couple thousand people, playing against CBC and even some of the teams that were a bit larger schools than us.
Right.
Those are really special memories.
Where were the state championships played in Missouri?
Yeah, ours were at Soccer Park still.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It moved to Soccer Park by that time. So it was. I think the field might have still been grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But but the actual I remember it was my junior year. It was right after my junior year is when they changed the pass back rule. Back in the day, we could pass back to the goalkeeper; they could pick it up.
You're right.
I think it was right after that they changed the rule.
They changed the rule.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yep. So now high school's over, and you really want to play in your hometown at St. Louis University, right?
Yeah.
Which has a great, rich soccer tradition, no doubt. But things didn't work out as it may.
Yeah.
I believe Dan Donegan was the coach.
Yeah, so Dan Donegan was the assistant coach at the University of Connecticut at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually saw us, myself and my best friend Jeff DeMarie was playing for CBC. And he came down at the Granite City tournament, which was a big high school tournament back in the day, saw us play, and he really kind of aggressively recruited us. I think we all, Joe Clark was the current coach at St. Louis University at the time.
Okay, he was at SLU.
He was at SLU, yeah. And SLU was obviously perennial top 10, top 15 program.
They wanted you though, didn't they?
Yeah, well,
But
I think it was a cycle of players that was really, really special at that time. A guy named Pat and Mike Moriarty, Jeff DiMaria, Mark Filla, just Dave Pop and Ben.
There's a big draft
There's
class,
a lot
if you
of
will.
really good players coming out that year, right? And I don't think there was enough scholarship
So many
money
spots,
for everybody.
right?
That's
Money,
it.
right?
So I think when I remember we always wanted to be a Billiken. Just growing up watching the SLU games made it really clear that I always wanted to go to SLU. But obviously, my dad was an electrician.
Right.
Union electrician. Grew up in North County, small just a middle class family, so to speak. So what we can only afford a certain amount of things. You just got an unbelievable offer from University of Connecticut, which was Coach Maroney and Dan Donegan, and then SLU couldn't put together a good package.
What was nice about it though is you got to go with your friend Jeff.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
DiMaria.
Yeah, had a great 2 years.
Which makes that transition moving away from home.
Yeah.
A new surrounding. You're away from home for the first time.
That's
but
right.
You have somebody there with you, which is kind of nice. A little bit of a connection there. His father played at Quincy.
That was a great
which was a
goalkeeper.
great soccer school at the time. Also, a former Steamer played there, Danny McDonald, who played for the Steamers, went to Quincy, whose younger brother Tom I played with at Epiphany.
Oh, there you go.
And their father coached us.
There you go.
And I'm going to tell you something. I had a lot of hockey coaches growing up because after grade school, I left soccer to go ahead and put all my eggs into the hockey basket, if you will. I'm going to tell you something, though. Mr. McDonald was probably one of the best coaches I ever had.
What made him unique?
He just really took an interest in you personally.
Yep.
Would talk to you, pull you aside, phone calls, things of that nature. That really made you feel really important. Not that my hockey coaches didn't do that, but he just had he just had a way about him,
Yeah.
And just a great soccer man,
Yep.
and of course his son Tom was very good.
Yeah.
I got to play with him and Marty Pike. You probably know
Yeah,
Marty.
Marty really,
Yeah, so the three of us played together at Epiphany. So there's just my Di
there you
Maria.
go.
The Kevin Bacon deal with Di Maria.
Mr. DiMaria and my dad were the two original coaches of the.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was kind of like it all came full circle. Ended up going to college together and had a great 2 years at Connecticut.
Yeah, talk about being up there. You're the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah, it was
deal.
a different experience.
Was it a different brand of soccer up there?
Yeah, I would think so. Definitely it was different in the sense that I think St. Louis was just hard to beat. We're very lucky to be a part of this culture and this community. In terms of, especially if you're a soccer
Well,
aficionado.
a tremendous pool of talent to pick from right here in St. Louis, right?
100%. Yeah, and I think the standards are just so high here. I think when we had a great experience at Connecticut. We got to play as freshmen. I think the team was they built it around younger players, so it was a good first year, and then the second year we did extremely well.
You know what? Well, maybe had you made that you went to SLU, you may not have played your freshman year.
That's right.
So this really got you acclimated to Division I play, playing with the big boys. You're a young guy. You're playing with the juniors, against the juniors, the seniors.
That's right.
With them, and then after the 2 years, you get a chance to come back to St. Louis University.
Fate would align a little bit. Had a great sophomore year. Was first team all Big East. We were 15-3-3 at UConn, and it was really I think things were going in a great direction. And then the coach ends up getting let go. Coach Maroney, who was a longtime legend of college soccer.
Right.
And it kind of just. It was a massive ordeal for Jeff and I. And a guy named Tim Tidoni, who's from St. Louis. A guy named Bobby Ryan, who's up there, who's since passed away. Was an unbelievable player from St. Louis, from Hazelwood Central. And then we had a really difficult decision to make. It just so happened, though, that Dan, who recruited all of us to Connecticut, ended up getting the assistant coaching job at St. Louis University.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so, it kind of made a lot of sense to follow his footsteps back home. and kind of get reunited with a lot of the guys we competed with in high school and played club with, and kind of build that.
That probably Donegan. He probably tipped the scale.
He
for
did.
you.
He was a really good mentor of ours.
You probably kind of liked it up there, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
we had a great experience. I have nothing negative to say. It was an unbelievable experience across the board. But at the end of the day, it is about your relationships, and and Danny was not only was a great recruiter, he was a great coach. He had a great career, even being the head coach here at St. Louis U. So, how fate kind of aligned a bit was unique, but I think it happened for a reason. So very happy.
Now,
it did.
let me ask you: you're back in your hometown.
Yeah,
it's a totally different deal. You're getting the home cooking, right? But it's a big soccer town. Little more. I'm guessing. I'm assuming a lot more pressure to play here at St. Louis University, a prestigious soccer school. What was that like? I mean, walking into that dressing room now as a Billiken.
Well, I think the good thing was I knew a lot of guys on the team already from growing up and playing. Yeah, it was mostly St. Louis guys, right? So guys that I played club with over my course of my lifetime, and so there was a familiarity across the board. I think the one unique thing that I think I look back on and reflect on, I'm very fortunate it happened at the time. I was like, Coach Warming was a coach I'd never played for before. He was the head coach at the time. Again, another good mentor of mine now. But the first 7 or 8 games, I don't play.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm thinking I'm going to walk in and really play this massive role in this team. And again, I had a lot of success where I was prior. I think I was going to walk into the team and lead this group, especially as a center defender or sweeper at the time. And for whatever reason, either I wasn't playing well, or he wanted something different, or guys were playing better than me. I didn't play a lot for the first 7 games or so.
Wow.
So that was a little bit of a
little wake up call.
Yeah, a little rough period that I had to fight through from an adversity side. That was one of my first real moments of adversity that I felt like I needed to grind through.
And maybe he wanted you to.
Maybe, yeah, that's a good question. I'll ask him that next time I see him. But. And then finally, I think we're at the Indiana tournament. We're playing Indiana. We're playing
another big soccer school.
Yeah, another program that could. I think maybe even it was UCLA at Indiana as part of their tournament. But I came in for an injury. Never left the starting lineup again, and we went on a run to the Final Four.
Probably, looking back, getting that opportunity, you probably drilled down a little more.
Yeah.
Knew what you had to do when you did get out there. You're gonna make darn sure you're going to make the best of it, right?
Yeah, you almost, at some point you almost got to get out of your own head and just go play and compete and let everything else fall into place. But that was a great group. We actually that SLU team, our '97 team, was a really, really special group, talented group. We ended up getting to the Final Four.
Virginia, correct?
Yeah, in Virginia, lost to University of Virginia.
Okay.
So both.
Okay,
yeah,
I thought so.
And it was a great run. We had, and the unique thing about it was arguably 3 of our best players were injured.
Oh boy.
So I always think, I know the '91 SLU team was quite special that went to the Final Four, and obviously everybody knows all about the teams that won national titles at SLU. But there's probably a handful of teams since '73 that I think had really good chances to kind of really go win it again. And I would say our '97 team, if we could have stayed healthy, would have been definitely one of them.
I want to step back just a little bit. Compare the 2 programs, the 2 clubs, UConn and SLU, at that time when you transitioned over. Compare the 2 programs, the 2 clubs.
UConn had a good amount of history too. They won a national title in I think '81, I believe. Coach Baroni was a longtime legend up there in terms of he was a great program builder. He wore a suit every game, had a clipboard. He was old school.
Old school.
We couldn't have any
wear a fedora too.
No facial hair.
Wow.
Really good meals on the road.
Like playing for the Yankees.
Yes, it really was. It was unique. Great stadium, great setup, and great fundraiser. Just really knew how to build a program. Very well funded at that time, well beyond most. So I think that professionalism was unique for UConn in of the sense. SLU's was different from the standpoint it was maybe not as much of the resources at the time because we're still again playing off campus.
Were you? You
training off campus, training at Forest Park still.
Oh wow!
So it was definitely we were it was just living on legacy, living on top talent, living on great coaches and players that have gone and wanted to keep building on that legacy. But in terms of like facilities and resources, and it was quite different, to be honest with you. I think,
really?
Yeah, which was
huge disparity.
Yeah, and at that time, not anymore.
Not anymore, no.
But at that time, yeah, there was. Even though SLU was much more talented, in my opinion, and actually, I would say, much more well-positioned to have success, in the NCAA tournament and beyond.
Yeah, as you mentioned, one Final Four you went to and lost to Virginia.
Yep.
Talk about that a little bit, what you guys went through. You had a few guys that were hurt, I believe, as you mentioned, and, you learn, and talk about the diversity piece with all that.
Yeah.
On the road,
it was a good it was a good run that year, in the sense that we just, the one thing I reflect on now, and I use it with my current team, is like, you got to get some momentum in November and get on a run. You see this obviously with a lot of the Blues or anyone else in market right now, but that momentum is so important, and you don't know when you want to peak late. I think the great ones can figure out how to get your teams to peak late and get on a run.
Right.
We happen to get on a run late, and it was kind of like, again, lightning in a bottle a bit, in terms of just we were shutting teams out. We were finding ways to win games, and with a team that arguably maybe wasn't as talented as some of the opponents we were going up against, but just a really tightly connected group. It rolled up your sleeve. Good St. Louis team that was a great fighting spirit and great togetherness. We just found ways to keep winning on. Obviously, when we went to UVA, they were a little bit too much of a match for us, but I think if the game maybe would have tilted one way or the other a little bit differently, we could have maybe kept them off the board a bit earlier. And I think they scored on us early and got some momentum. Could have. Yeah, but I think to be fair, they were probably the better team on that day, at least.
But you guys knew you got players that were on, knew their role.
Yeah.
Right.
Good St. Louis guys.
Good St. Louis guys that didn't mind. Hey, probably a lot of really great players.
That's right.
But you know what? You're not the star of the team anymore. You got to step back and take on a different role, right?
Yep.
That's
100%. Yeah.
The chemistry was there.
It's more, the chemistry and just the guys who knew their role. Guys were great marking back. Brad Hansman was a great marking back, right? Just like a guy that could shut down a forward, and and just those were the kind of character guys in your locker room that I think we had in abundance. And with some timely goals, we came close.
Yeah, and you made first team All-American.
Yeah, that year.
SLU.
Yep, that was my senior year. Yep.
Yep. Well, perfect.
Yeah.
How far did you guys go your senior year?
I think we lost in the second round.
Did you?
Yeah. I think we lost in the second round.
Maybe lost. Did you lose? I
think we lost to Creighton, I think. Yeah, a little bit. It was
a little bit of a rebuild.
Yeah, just kind of a few. We lost Timmy Leonard. We lost a handful of guys, but it was look, when you get to the NCAA tournament, everybody's good, right? You need some things to go your way.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember the actual game itself, but I know the year before, again, we caught fire, and this year maybe we were good, but for whatever reason we didn't have that timely goal scoring.
Yeah, and then later on in 2007, you are inducted in the St. Louis University Sports Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there we go.
Pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah, I'm very very blessed to be in that, with a lot of really special athletes.
But a lot of things had to happen, right?
Donegan
going.
Right.
I mean, isn't it crazy how things work out?
It sure is.
It's unbelievable.
That's why you just gotta honestly, never burn a bridge. Always, be good to people, and I think at the end of the day, things will turn out right in the end.
Yeah. Well, we're at the end of your collegiate career as a player. We're going to stop right there. We'll be right back on the Supper Club with Kevin Kalish.
Kuna Food Service, providing quality food to people across the Midwest, is part of our rich history at Kuna, because food brings people together. We specialize in having a large variety of food products and food supplies, catering to an array of businesses that turn to us. Kuna Food Service, a family-owned tradition since 1918. Oliva on the Hill. It's Italy in the city. With exquisite old-world charm, this ideal setting is perfect for your next special event, wedding, just having lunch, or enjoying Wine Down Wednesday and the Antique Market. Check it out, olivaonthehill.com. Lordo's Diamonds, your family's jeweler for life. Family-owned and operated for over 70 years, specializing in engagement rings, fashion jewelry, gemstones, and in-house jewelry repair.
Relaxed, friendly atmosphere, competitive pricing, and a selection second to none. Conveniently located just west of the Galleria on Clayton Road. Lordo's Diamonds, your family's jeweler for life. LordosDiamonds.com. Go Fresta for Fresta Limoncello. My handcrafted small batch citrus liqueur is perfect for sipping or pouring in a cocktail. All natural, gluten-free, Fresta Limoncello is sold at Schnucks, Dierberg's, Straub's, Total Wine, and local restaurants. Fresta Limoncello. Keep sipping, my friends.
Welcome back to the Supper Club. We're here with Kevin Kalish, the head coach of the men's soccer team at St. Louis University. Storied little college program there. A lot of histories we've been talking about. But now your college career is over as a player, and you get drafted into the MLS with the Kansas City Wizards.
Yeah, the old name.
What was that like, being drafted into professional sports?
Yeah, it was pretty
Is
cool.
it like you see on TV with the football guys in the living room with about 18
I wish.
people?
Yeah,
How did it happen for you?
I don't even think that was even a production. I think we just found out online somewhere.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, like 26th overall, and just said my name and
over the ticker on it.
Yeah. So it wasn't as big of a production as you see today. But still very cool. Yeah.
You're for yourself, your family, your dad,
Yeah, a lot of work went into it, so definitely very, very prideful in that regard.
So talk about that. You go to training camp?
Yeah, so we went into preseason with a guy named Ron Newman was the head coach. Guys like Preki and Tony Miola, Alexi Lalas, they were all on the team at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was
really?
Yeah, there was a really it was an older quality Kansas City Wizards team that was quite good. Chris Henderson. So like a lot of really good players that I think a lot of guys know even today that are still in the game, either coaching or announcing or whatnot. But went into preseason, spent all preseason with them and playing multiple games and a training camp, and then at the end of the day, I ended up getting released.
Okay, well,
it happened. Yeah,
there's that adversity piece.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Things happen.
I was
but again, all these great players on the team. I mean, it's like where.
Yeah, look,
there's only so many spots.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I was a 5'10" center back, right? So I think in some ways, my athleticism wasn't one that was going to reach the highest levels of the game. I could definitely be a very good college player. I think, going in the pro level was going to be pushing it a bit. I don't think I was an unbelievable athlete. I was more of a guy that was technical, more about intelligence, and and that was a good team. Just wasn't able to make the cut.
Yeah, the soccer IQ.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I like to think
Which
so.
is probably why you got into coaching.
That's right. Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. So took a chance at it, and then afterwards, just kind of again, I knew I kind of wanted to coach. I've always been very studious.
When did the epiphany come to you when you thought to yourself, I think I want to get into coaching at some point? Down the lower.
Yeah, I played for a guy named Tom Howe, who was a great mentor of mine as well. That he really got me, I think, loving training and loving going to practice, and I really enjoyed those sessions throughout my high school years, playing for him as a club coach and Mike Gavane. And I think that's kind of when it started to light the fire a bit, and then I started just taking notes on different.
Just watching him, the way he went about his
being
business.
a part of it. Yeah, and just being a part of it.
Yeah,
experiencing it a bit. I'm thinking, okay, this could be something that I think I could enjoy.
Like, what, I think I want to be like him.
Yeah, and then I think as you kind of go into college, you do the same thing. You start writing down different things that really, whether it's activities or or just different things that you think you're going to use in the future.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I think I've always kept a journal over my years, and I think I've wrote down a lot of different things that I thought I could use maybe in the future that I really enjoyed and liked, and then as my playing career started to end, I kind of wanted to transition and go in that direction.
But it didn't end right there. You went into indoor soccer.
Yeah, so it's kind of like right around 1999, I went back to graduate school at St. Louis University. Was an assistant coach there for 1 year.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah, under Coach Warming and Coach Downigan. And while doing that, I started playing indoor soccer as well.
Wow.
So I was kind of doing two things at once. And you can make a little bit extra money on the side with playing indoor and still play and enjoy it. It was 6 month contracts. And then on the other side of it, you could actually still get your coaching career going, continue your education, finish off, I was finishing off my undergrad, I apologize, when I was an assistant coach. I had one more semester to do. And and I knew if I wanted to try to get into coaching, this would be a good taste of it. So Coach Warming brought me on for a semester, and it was a great year.
Now, it was the Buffalo Blizzard?
Well, yeah, I started off actually just playing here locally with the St. Louis Ambush.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I started off with the Ambush.
Who were some of your teammates with the Ambush?
Well, it was Jamie Swanner was the head coach back in the day, and Marcelo Carrera and Matt Little and Todd Hunter and Dave Beck, and there's just a lot of guys locally, Mike Laposha, Joe Reiniger, that were that played on. We weren't the most successful team in the world. I'll be honest with you, that was a team that really it was my first taste of any level of professional soccer where you played for a full season.
Right.
We were not very good,
No.
but it was still a good learning moment for me, and I had a good time with it.
Jamie Swanner was your head coach,
He was,
right?
yeah.
A former goaltender.
That's right.
Do you think goaltenders make good coaches?
You see a lot of them in coaching?
Like a catcher in baseball.
Yeah, you see a lot of goalkeepers.
Maybe goaltenders in hockey. You don't see a lot of goaltenders in hockey that coach. Patrick Waugh is one of them that comes to mind. But these guys, a catcher in baseball, a goaltender, and they got the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
They see everything, right?
100%. And I think the other thing about soccer is it's the one position that has a position-specific coach. Mm-hmm. You don't see that in most other positions in the game of soccer.
Right.
So I think naturally speaking, if you're a goalkeeper coach, you kind of transition. If you want to move up the ladder, you go to assistant coach or head coach. So yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said for that.
Yeah, I mean, you would think. I mean, because they've just, like I said, they've got, or it's a guy that sits on the bench the whole game.
Yeah, right, just watching.
Right next to the manager.
Yeah, exactly.
The backup catcher or whoever doesn't play a whole lot, utility guy. But so talk about those days that you play. Was it at the family arena that you guys?
Yeah,
played?
we actually played at used to be the old Kiel Center, right?
Okay,
we played
so you were down there.
Yeah, we were down there for that year, and then just played 1 year at the Ambush. Then the Ambush folded. Dr. Hawama, they folded.
Hawama,
So
yeah.
then there was a re-entry draft. I was drafted by the Buffalo Blizzard, and they agreed to be a contract. So then that's when I left, went to play in Buffalo for a bit, and while I was in Buffalo and training or playing those 6 months, I was in an airport up on the East Coast. It was the same. I think it was in Philly. Actually ran into a guy named Ed Hunnicky,
right?
Who was a longtime coach at SIU Edwardsville. We actually saw each other in the airport.
You ran into him in an airport.
Yeah,
up
it was
in
a
the
coaches
East Coast?
convention was going on at the time in Philly, so we saw each other,
man.
and he recruited me out of high school, so we just kind of reconnected, and I said, hey, by the way, if there's anything ever opens up in coaching or at SIUE, I'd love give me a holler.
How long were you in Buffalo?
So this was my first, literally 3-4 months. Not much.
Now, Now, was at that time was indoor? Was that a winter sport or was it in summer? Was it a
Yeah, it was more
sport?
winter. Yeah,
It was winter.
Yeah, yeah, because the coaching convention normally is in January.
Let me tell you something, brother. The winters in Buffalo were rough.
Yes, we
you're
laugh about those.
You're
winters.
glad to get out of there.
Yeah, the food was great, but man, we had some thunder snows, to say the least.
So he gives you your first shot, second shot at coaching.
Yeah. So
SIUE.
Yeah. So he said, "Hey, you know what? Ironically, my assistant just left. I'd love to meet up with you when we get back. When you get back in town into St. Louis, let's find some time to meet up and talk about it." And so, we met at the Steak and Shake at Bell Fountain.
Really?
Yeah.
Back in your old stomping grounds.
That's it. Yeah. And he offered me the job. He said, "Hey, I can give you this job for $500 for the year."
Yeah, $500.
That was the deal. Yeah.
Wow. But you had to kind of moonlight at Scott Gallagher, didn't you? To help make ends meet a little bit.
Yes. So as my indoor career ended up start playing in Buffalo. I got traded to Kansas City. Right after Kansas City, I ended up making my way back to St. Louis, and then I accepted the job at SIUE. And also at the same time, I was starting to get back involved in the Scott Gallagher.
But $500.
Yep.
And there were only two of you. You and Ed Haneke, that was it.
Yep.
Just the two of you.
Yeah.
That's a workload.
Yeah, it was. And then I ended up going to grad school there as well, right? So they ended up paying for grad school on top of it.
Okay.
So it was.
That's nice.
A year later, yeah. So it was definitely
A little trade out.
Yeah, it was a good experience, and this was the year 2000, right? So 2001 was a really good class for us and at SIUE, and we went to the Final Four. But it was a great opportunity. Ed's a great guy to work for. He's a great mentor, and he's just a great person. He's a really good culture builder and takes care of people. Just a genuinely great person, and he really allowed me to have a big influence in recruiting, have a big influence in training, and really allowed me to cut my teeth a bit while also learning from him. So it was kind of a really unique scenario that I got to enjoy for those early years of my coaching career.
You know, you really had a lot of great mentors. You know, Sorber,
100%.
your dad, right?
Yeah, it's been
Maria.
You don't. I think we all know, like, you don't get anywhere in life without good people,
Other people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, guys
right.
who you learn from and you surround yourself with. And I've been really fortunate to have some great coaches along the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what's made you, where you are now. You take bits and pieces from those guys. I'm sure you look back in time and say, man, I wonder how Ed would handle this situation, or maybe someone else.
Yeah,
100%. I don't know.
Yeah, no, because they
Right?
all have their own strengths, right?
Yeah.
As coaches and administrators or leaders, and and that 2001 team went to a Final Four, which is awesome. That was kind of our first kind of real taste of success at SIUE, and then while that's going on, I got back in the old club, Scott Gallagher, my boyhood club, right?
Right.
So, Scott Gallagher at that time was a club with basically one team per age group, right? And they had Tom Howard was the director of coaching, who's been like I said before, a guy that coached me throughout my high school years, had a good relationship with, and a guy named Bob Kemp was a head of the board. He was a volunteer, but they wanted to hire an executive director at the time of the club to help the club more from a business side of things.
Okay.
Along with helping coaching. And so I interviewed for that position, and
you were a director also, right?
Yeah, so I was quote unquote the executive director of the club at that starting in 2001.
And you coached also.
I was the assistant.
So you wore two hats.
Wore two hats. I was an assistant and kind of helped with a lot of different teams, and
right.
While also kind of helping with the finances and revenue generation and organization of the teams, administration, really kind of helping keep the glue together for the organization as well.
I got to tell you, I did meet Jimmy Scott.
Oh gosh,
I didn't know he was the Scott from Scott Gallagher. Had no idea. You know how I met him? Through Ed Emo.
Oh, you did?
Emo's
really?
Pizza.
Oh my gosh.
These two guys were like frickin' frack buddies. They had cabins together at a ranch nearby each other. They were big hunters and all that. And I remember Ed would take a very good friend of mine, Bill Jennings, and we'd go. He'd have during the hunting, and I'm not a hunter, but I'd go out there once in a while and hang out. And he'd have a big party at his place. And man, this guy was a character.
Oh my gosh, I've heard stories.
Oh my God, I mean, full of life.
Yes.
Funny as hell. Just
guy.
a great guy.
Great guy.
But I had no idea he was the soccer.
Isn't that crazy?
Scott.
Yeah,
people
know that. Yeah, right. People think Scott Gallagher was a
person. I knew him
person.
for something totally different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But, and how much
tremendous guy,
and how much that club has influenced soccer in St. Louis over the years, right? I mean, back in I think it started in '79, I believe, and over the years, how many great players have gone to play for Scott Gallagher is just. I don't think they realized it at the time what they were starting, and to know that even to today, the name still exists and is still renowned for. I was listening to an MLS game just last weekend, and they mentioned Scott Gallagher, right? So it's like it's embedded in our soccer culture and history, which
absolutely.
is pretty cool. Yeah.
How long? When did it first start? When did
I believe it was right around late '70s.
Really?
And
that'd be about right.
Yeah, and I think I think it was Jim Scott and Mr. Gallagher. They owned a sheet metal company, and they sponsored a few teams. Right. And they changed the name to Scott Gallagher, and that's kind of where it started. But it was a very, 4 to 6 teams, North County Club, just like an old school, cool, community-based club.
Right.
For the best of the best.
You had that North County camaraderie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I guess who was the team? Was it Cudis or was
it was Bush?
Was it Bush?
Yeah, it was Bush.
More
More Bush. Yeah,
South
Bush
County?
Bush was the Scott Gallagher and Bush were the two.
Yeah.
Great. Great. Oh, that was a great
fun rivalry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, those are the things though that I think made soccer so special.
St. Louis great.
It really was.
Such great talent.
And I think St. Louis University, I think they reaped a lot of those benefits from getting the best from the North and the South and everything else, right, for many, many years, along with SIUE.
I want to ask you, in 2007, SIUE goes Division I. What was it like to handle that transition into Division I? Because I know Lindenwood University has just recently done it. I think they've had a few setbacks. They've had to get rid of some Division I programs. There's still some other ones that are still going. But it's a jump.
Yeah.
And it's a whole nother animal, man.
It really
right?
is. Yeah, I mean,
Talk about that.
definitely is today. I think, we had just a great run at SIUE, and we lost in the national final in Division II in 2004, went to another Final Four in 2005. We just had a lot of success that was mostly based on St. Louis players, and I think we put ourselves in a great spot to move to Division I and kind of built that momentum up. But yeah, when anytime you go from D2 to D1, there's a moratorium, they call it, where you got to sit out of postseason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can't compete in the postseason for a certain amount of years.
So now you go from recruiting players for this level to now you got to ramp it up and get players for this level.
Yeah.
What was that? I mean,
yeah, I've always been a guy that's
did the St. Louis thing?
Yeah, I've always recruited St. Louis. I thought a lot of our
because of you
teams,
being in St. Louis's backyard, was that a good bridge for that?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our even Division II teams could have competed in Division I.
Okay.
I don't know that we would have, been a top 25 team by any means, but I definitely feel like we could have competed.
There's
and
the
done
answer
well.
right there.
So and that was our recruiting model was mostly getting the best players, as many as we could from St. Louis and from the surrounding areas, and we kind of just stuck with that model.
And then when did you couldn't do both? Tell the story. You kind of had to go.
So when I was
one. It became one or the other.
Yeah.
Tell that story.
Well, I think while I was having a young family, right? So from 2001 all the way to 2008, it was pretty much doing two jobs, right?
Yeah.
I would be an assistant coach at SIUE, and I would help run Scott Gallagher.
Was this about the same time that St. Louis was taking their first shot at getting a pro
right at the tail end of this was.
With Cooper?
Yeah, this was right at the tail end of that. So right around 2007 is when Jeff Cooper kind of came into the picture. Yeah, so Jeff was a great businessman, lawyer, had his own law firm, and he really took the first cut at wanting to bring MLS to St. Louis. And he was a visionary, to be honest with you, knowing that franchises were going for $25 million at the time.
Right. And he's an Illinois guy.
He was an Illinois guy, right? So he kind of came into the picture in 2007, and myself and a guy named Steve Petcher, who ran
played for the Steamers.
St. Louis Soccer Club, and Bush St. Louis Soccer Club at the time, and then a guy named Dale Schilly, who's currently Academy Director at St. Louis City and one of the radio voice. He ran a club called Metro United. Those were the three best youth clubs, along with Lou Fuse, in St. Louis.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Steve and I, over time, as the landscape changed in youth soccer and things became a little more competitive, we always had a good professional relationship, and we always talked about trying to find ways to find win-wins and also find ways to we can compete, but also we're still from St. Louis. So we've kind of looked at some different things to do together where we could find partnerships and whatnot. And then when Jeff Cooper came in, he pitched all three of us the opportunity to he wanted to bring an MLS team to St. Louis, and he wanted to merge the three clubs together.
He wanted an amateur team to be the
feeder club,
to the
MLS club, which was really an interesting, I think, concept. I think it got us all excited in the sense that, okay, well, this could be pretty cool. For the first time, we could have real resources behind us, real facilities behind us, a real
only $25 million.
at the time.
And that was just for the first team, right? I mean,
Yeah, right.
that didn't count all the academy built out or anything else. But so I think all three organizations really considered it and considered it an opportunity that they needed to look into. So over the course of the next 2 years, there was a lot of discussions on, are we going to try to merge the three clubs together? Is he going to get MLS? Who's going to take ownership of the three clubs? There's three nonprofits with three boards. You can imagine there's a lot going on there, right? And then there's a lot of like mistrust, right? So many years we're competitors.
Too many chefs in the kitchen.
There's a lot. There was a lot there. So it was one of the really a unique time in St. Louis soccer in the sense that we wanted to potentially be on the forefront of the opportunity of being a part of the MLS Cup, because if we were the one club that maybe said no, and let's say the other two said yes, and then they got MLS, where would that have left our organization? Right. And then I think so as we kind of worked through this whole issue, we ended up merging all three clubs together into one organization. Called St. Louis Scott Gallagher. That was kind of when the merger kind of took place, right around 2008. And it was right around 2009. Like for instance, we didn't get MLS, but they brought in a club called AC St. Louis, was a professional team that Jeff Cooper brought in along with St. Louis Athletica. This was a women's and men's professional teams that were like.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
They were second. They played at Soccer Park. So it was like we were trying to build a professional model with an amateur setup. It was a lot of learning at that time.
Well, you were pioneers.
It really was. It was a unique time. I learned so much about.
As was Cooper.
Yes, it was and there's just a lot of dysfunction to be
uncharted territory.
Uncharted territory. A lot of dysfunction across the board. I would say even mismanagement at some levels with regards to how it was all supposed to be aligned. And I think while it was all well intentioned with really good people, and I would say that even about Jeff, I think he was well intentioned. It was a very difficult proposition to execute on, and then it all kind of it basically all fell apart right around 2009 or so.
Why? Was
because
because of a local event, or was it more on from the league standpoint?
Well, I think at that point in time, I think he realized he wasn't going to get MLS.
Okay.
And I think
he saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
Maybe another city got awarded the team or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure the reasons.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the two pro clubs that were originally there was just, I don't think were flourishing.
Right.
I think they were losing money, and I think it just wasn't. They weren't in a position to succeed, and so. And when we look back, and I think Steve and Dale and I would kind of tell a story, but whenever we merged, we kind of turned the books over to the club, and it just so happened that by the time we ended up in 2009, we were really the youth club was in a really financially troubled position. Back then.
And so now, when does Jim Cavanaugh enter the picture?
Yeah. So then, Steve and I and Dale we were talking about what now, right? Because we had a lot of staff at Scott Gallagher that was obviously great people, great coaches. We weren't, that were promised certain things.
This is around 2013.
So this is now. This is still in. Oh man. So this is right around, I think 2010ish.
Oh, okay.
So this is even before that.
All right.
So I was still at both places, and
you're doing both.
Doing two things at once a little bit. Actually became the head coach at SIUE in 2008. So I was the head coach at this time at SIUE while also helping with the mergers and all these things. And so
that's a lot.
Yeah. So then I reached out to Jim and Tom Strunk and Jim Cavanaugh, and I just asked for their guidance and help. Right. I said, hey, we're in a really difficult spot. Could you help us out?
So he called you in for a meeting, right?
Well, we first met at the met at the Trainer Saloon in Westport Plaza. I kind of outlined what was going on with the clubs, and then he said, "Hey, I'll definitely help you guys out, but be careful for what you wish for. If we get involved, we're gonna do it our way," which is the greatest thing in the world.
Especially after what you just told them.
Yeah, so he came in. They kind of looked at the books, looked at.
We're not going to fool around with all this.
Yeah, we were in a big hole. And then at that point, they kind of came in, took over the board, and really started to build our culture as an organization at St. Louis Scott Gallagher. So you had a lot of you had 3 organizations trying to merge into one, a lot of mistrust, a lot of just dysfunction across the board. Right. And these guys not only came in and helped us financially, but more importantly, really built the culture and taught us how to lead a culture. And I always say that it was like a master class in leadership for me.
It probably made it much more streamlined.
More streamlined.
You had to.
Yeah. And then I think they started working with us to make sure to get the processes right, to get the foundation of the business foundation organized and on the right track. And then we started to really kind of see a lot of not only profitability but also our culture was 10 times better over time, I think. So they worked through all of us leaders during that time frame and really kind of helped St. Louis Scott Gallagher not only survive but also flourish into what it is now.
You know, it's funny because now you're at this point. You're learning the coaching piece, the recruiting piece, the business part of running a club.
100%.
And now the building of something.
That's right.
You know, I mean, you're getting all this.
Yeah, and you're
even though it was probably some pains.
There was.
Right? You had to learn so much.
It was, I
mean, you were thrown in the deep end of the pool, man. You know?
Yeah.
It
really. No, I think there was definitely some moments, and I blessed my wife, and you know, she's trying to raise a young family, and but yeah, it was I wouldn't change it for the world because I think through those formative years, I really, I think became the leader that I am today. So, so it was definitely not something I would script it out that way, but the way it worked out was very blessed at it.
Yeah, and so in 2013, you leave SIU.
Yeah. So after becoming the head coach in 2008, we transitioned to Division I.
Yeah.
Had a few good years in Division I with them. Was coach of the year in the conference in the region, and had some success. And in 2013, I remember getting a call from Jim and Tom and said, "Hey, you need to come to our office at Worldwide." And at that point, I was still trying to do the 2 jobs again. Right, this was Division I. We got a merger here. It was. I was burning the candle at both ends, and I was. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't doing a great job leading our staff at the club.
There's only so much time in the day.
Yeah, that part of it. Yeah, and I just wasn't doing anyone any favors in that sense. It was just too much. But they said, hey, you got to make a decision now. You need to either go one way or the other.
Jim.
Yeah, and just basically said
that was a huge turning point. That meeting.
Yeah, it really was. And they said, hey, like you need to really kind of be honest with yourself that one, your leadership isn't good enough and you're not doing the right things from this perspective. But if you want to commit to trying to do it the right way, we'll definitely be willing to help coach you up. And I really took that to heart. And I decided at that point, again, I had to see my family a lot. So my kids were getting a little bit older. Yeah. I decided to follow Jim and Tom and kind of stick with the club and resign from SIUE.
Again, fate as it were.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. Yeah. Jim Cavanaugh in your life, going back a couple of years or so, and then man, here he is.
He's been like him and Tom.
You guys have a sit down and you're like, okay, this is how it's going to go.
It's funny. We talk a lot about. We try to take the same principles that Jim and Tom taught our leadership team at the club. We use that same culture building processes, I say, with my current program at SLU. But I always use there's a email exchange between Jim and I from 2013 when he was coaching me through this period of time, and I use that as an example with our current players of like, look, it's not about being perfect, but if you want to be coachable, you want to get better, you can have hard conversations and continually try to improve. So it's it was a difficult time, but the way it worked out, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. So 2018 rolls around, and your alma mater comes calling to be the head coach at St. Louis University.
Yeah, that's another. From 2013 to 2018, we did a lot of great stuff at the club, right?
Yeah.
So we brought in St. Louis FC at the time. So Jim and Tom, Jeremy Allenbaugh and Dale Shaw, they basically brought a professional club and started a professional club in St. Louis. There was 2 academies at the time: St. Louis Scott Gallagher, Missouri; St. Louis Scott Gallagher, Illinois. We merged them to make St. Louis FC as our top academy in St. Louis. So as we did all these great things throughout those 5 years, we were actually at a board meeting at Soccer Park, and I remember Mr. Cavanaugh and Dan Flynn, and they were asking me about a candidate at SLU and what my opinion was, because the job was opening up. And I said, yeah, he's a great guy, great coach. I think that would be
Who was the candidate?
His name was Jay Mims. Jason Mims, one of my former teammates.
Oh, wow.
And he's a great coach. He's been coaching professional. Would have been an awesome hire for SLU at the time as well.
Sure.
So I said, yeah, I think he'd be great. I called to Jay. I said, hey.
They're asking about you.
Yeah, hey, this is good. Yeah, I go, hey, I can help you get players. And I was really happy at the club. And I was learning a lot under Jim and Tom, and the leadership team was great. And then for whatever reason, it didn't come to fruition with Jay. And so I mentioned, I said, hey, we need to get a St. Louis guy in there, though.
Right.
In my opinion, if we're going to really succeed in this market, it needs a St. Louis guy. I think I just know the program, and the program is, when it's thrived, it's had that St. Louis connection.
Yeah.
So I asked if I could get a meeting with Chris May, and and Jim was kind enough to at least get me a meeting with Mr. May, and then from that point forward, he got I expressed my interest and submitted my paperwork and resume, and ended up going through an interview process, and ended up lucky enough to get the job. Yeah,
and you're in, and you now you got a tremendous facility, as opposed to when you played there, right?
Yeah.
Huh? Had to be a proud moment. Member of the Sports Hall of Fame at SLU.
Yeah.
Did some great things as a player, and now you're. I mean, what could be better? You're in your hometown. Your school head coach of the game you love.
Yeah. No, I
doesn't
really
get any better than that.
It doesn't. I'll be honest with you. I tell people every day that there's not a job in the world I'd rather have. I think. And look, it's. I love being able to connect. I wore the jersey. Right, I can talk to our guys about sitting in the same seat that they've sit in,
and you get a kind of a built-in respect too from the players because of what you had done there in the past.
I would hope so. Yeah, I think I think
that helps.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah, and it's I like to, and again, I know a lot of the older alumni.
Yep.
Right, I know a lot of the younger alumni from a lot of the guys I've coached, even with club throughout my years.
Do you pull from those guys a little bit?
Yeah, all the time.
Maybe bring them in to talk to the team.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think that's part of like what makes a great program great is like it's a program. It's like shared experiences.
It's a brotherhood.
It's a brotherhood, right? And I think there's just so many relationships over the years that we've been able to develop through being in the game. Whether I coached them at SLU or whether I coached them in the club, or it's just that connection is there, and I think that's what I'm really blessed to have. Again, not only to be in a great position with a great institution like SLU, but also I've given my whole life to the game in this market, like in St. Louis. So it means a lot to me that we're successful.
Yeah. Still thriving, still doing great things.
Trying to.
As of right now, I mean, But I want to talk to you about what's going on right now in collegiate athletics with the pool and the NIL money. I mean, how are you, as a head coach of a Division I program, a fairly successful, great history? How are you dealing with that, and how has that changed your coaching style, or approach, if you will? Now
definitely got to be adaptable now. It's just the landscape is just constantly changing, right? So I think adaptable is the best terminology that we can use as a staff to try to figure out ways to stay ahead of the curve. I'm more of a strategist than I am like anything. I think that's my best unique quality is planning and strategy and figuring out how to put the pieces together to build a championship level culture and team. And I think I got a great staff in place. But the portal, there has to be a strategy with it. There has to be an understanding of what the portal can be overwhelming as well.
It's a wild west right now. There are no rules. There's no regulate. It's just
It's like,
great. It's unpredictable.
It can be overwhelming if you don't have a clear idea of what you're trying to get out of it, right? Because there's just so many names, so many players, and I think in some ways there's a great opportunity there as well if you can figure out exactly what your needs are and what you want from it.
Yeah. Now, from your perspective, it's probably not that big or as much as a variable as it may be in football or basketball in college. I think it's gotten a little crazy and crazier in those sports because let's face it, those are the money sports.
Yeah, you're actually making
athletic,
significant money.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe it's not as maybe it's a little more dialed down.
It is. In
most Olympic
soccer. Most Olympic sports, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most Olympic sports for right now, outside of maybe women's volleyball and a few others, baseball in the SEC, but I think for the most part, it's definitely there's definitely margins there.
It's there,
but it's not like life-changing money that you're seeing in
these other. It's just gotten crazy. I think this year alone they spent like 1.3 billion in NIL money across the board in collegiate sports. It's insane.
And I think that number is only going to continue to go up. Yeah. I mean, at some point, I'd venture to guess that there's got to be some form of collective bargaining. You'd think over time with athletes to try to find some way to put some form of guardrails or some structure in place so that the industries can thrive. Right. Mm-hmm. I think right now it's very fragmented. It's very state by state. It's very much everybody's trying to kind of one up the other one.
Well, I think what you're going to see, and I think you're seeing it in football right now. You see Alabama; they're not the powerhouse they used to be anymore. In just a few short years since the introduction of NIL money, which was only supposed to be for endorsements, and now they're just writing these kids checks.
That's right.
But I think you're going to start seeing the better programs are going to be on the coasts.
Okay.
What do you mean by that? Where the marketing money is.
Got it. Okay.
The marketing opportunities.
That makes sense.
Media. I think that's why you see and I hate to switch gears on you in sports, but you see, I think Alabama's a prime example of that. They were such a powerhouse, and now they're not so much.
Parity.
And I think there's a little bit of a connection there with the advent of NIL.
Yeah, I can see that connection. That's a good point.
Whatever.
Yeah, I can see that.
You're in the Midwest, but to your advantage, it's a huge soccer deal here in St. Louis, which helps you. A lot of people with money who want to help out, sponsorship-wise, that sort of thing. So that does help you being in the sport you're in.
Yeah, I think we're in a really unique, in a positive market. For our sport.
Yeah,
I don't know that there's many other, I would say, programs as well positioned as we are, in terms of just being in a soccer-centric school, in a soccer-centric community with MLS facility less than a mile down the road. I think that's a very rare thing that most programs can't replicate. Doesn't mean that they don't have other things that makes them unique, but I think for us, for guys for players who not only want to be professionals but also want to come and play in front of crowds and be a part of a professional environment, there's no better place to play than St. Louis University.
Now I'm going to go back collegiate soccer, and we all know it's a huge European sport. What's the ratio like nationally? That take your program out of it, because you've got a feeder program with St. Louis being such a huge soccer market.
Yep.
But what's the ratio of European players to domestic players?
For just roster spots, or for starting 11?
In just overall collegiate soccer in other parts of the country.
I think roster spots. I think it's 50-50 now. I think for every one American, there's an international player on a roster.
Is that fair to say about St. Louis U?
No, I think
you're more domestic.
We're more, I would say, 80% domestic, 20% international. So I think we're skewed a little bit differently. Right. But I think if you looked at the entire industry, I think it's 50-50.
So when you look at both domestic players, St. Louis players, and what's the difference between a European kid who comes in versus a kid from the States or St. Louis? What do you see in the difference of those two players, skill-wise?
I don't think there's much like from an ability. I don't think the American player is disadvantaged at all from a physical, definitely not physical,
right.
And from a technical perspective either. Maybe some international players are more technical, but it can be just as many domestic players that are just as technical. I think it's mostly age.
Okay.
It's age. I think for whatever reason, a lot of the European players that are coming over, or international players that are coming over, are starting their freshman year around 20 or 21.
Okay, they're just a couple years older.
And I think that
a little
ends
more
up being
mature.
Yeah, that ends up being a delta though, that where you push that now you're playing against a 25-year-old or 24-year-old, which makes that's for an 18-year-old. If you're a freshman trying to compete, that can be not that they can't compete and do well, but it's just one other layer of difficulty, I guess you could say. That's put in front of you.
Okay, what during the season? What's a day in the life of Kevin Kalish as a professional? Or as a college.
No, we train early. We train
there.
in the mornings, right? So we're actually in the in the weight room with sports performance right around 7:45, 8, and then get done with that, get a little breakfast, and we go straight to the facility, watch a little video. We're out in the field usually by 9:30.
Wow.
And then 9:30 to 10:45 we train.
Yep.
And then from there it's guys go to class, and then our staff would get together for that point and either we're going through video, going through scouting reports, going through game planning, doing recruiting, just all the various things you need to do during your season, and then kind of rinse and repeat until you gotta get obviously you got your match day -2, match day -1, and then your matches. So on game days it's always going to be a little bit different, but
what's a game day like?
Yeah, usually we get together. If it's a night game for us, we'll get up and do a
games at night.
Walk through. Yeah, we usually have a 7:00 game, so
Yeah.
we'll walk through in the mornings just to make sure the game plan's clear for the guys. Play a little soccer, tennis, or whatnot, just to get their legs moving, and then we done a pregame meal around 3.5 hours earlier, and at that point,
they got a routine.
Yeah,
don't
they got a
they, these
routine. You got to
players?
need a routine, yeah, and then you got to trust that they're going to get the job done, and we have a good group. So.
A lot of are these guys? They eat the same thing every day.
Yeah,
on
there's a
game
lot.
day, or do they?
There's definitely creatures of habit for sure. Yeah,
I think it's that way with all athletes are kind of creatures
they're
of
more health
habit. They want to
conscious.
stick to a routine.
100%.
I mean, I was talking to Ahern, who was the coach.
Yeah.
You've met him at the coffee shop, and he was talking about how some of these guys, man, if they bend over to tie their shoe, the wrong one first, like they'll go back to their car and start all over again and do the whole process over again and do the thing. I don't know if it's that crazy.
Yeah,
in soccer,
I don't know.
The kids got a routine. I'm sure. As young players, they stick to a certain regimen, what they eat, the whole thing.
I think that's honestly, it's one of the best parts about, I think, college in general is you go from an 18-year-old where you're you're still at your mom and dad's house. You're still kind of falling under their roof and they're cooking for you. And then now you're on your own, and now you got to build those routines and find time management. I just think that's always the biggest learning curve for freshmen, especially that by the time they leave, they got they understand the routines, they understand what works for them, they understand their diet, they understand their sleep, and they can start to really kind of take that next step.
Yeah, and I want to ask you, we'll go into the pro now that St. Louis has a pro team now. They're playing and not having a lot of success this year. But what do you think's missing? Do you think the St. Louis team, given the fact that it's such a rich soccer tradition, do you think they need a little more St. Louis flavor on the team? Maybe a coach. Maybe it's. I'm not saying the whole roster needs to be St. Louis kids, or St. Louis guys, but maybe one or two guys, or maybe some more of a St. Louis connection.
We'd all love to see that, just because I think
there's
just so many good players
all over the world.
Yeah, well, and there's so many good players from St. Louis in the league.
Right.
So you'd love to be able to say they're playing in their hometown.
Right.
And I think we'd all love to go watch them because we have those connections and relationships. And there's just the same thing with coaches. There's so many great St. Louis coaches that are coaching in MLS right now. So, if that has to fall in line with whatever their philosophy is going to be. And obviously it's a big business. They got to do what they think is best for their club and their business. So I'm not judging or anything like that. But I think just purely in a selfish way, I'd love to be able to see it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I wish they would have named them the Stars. I wish they would have kept the St. Louis Stars.
That was a great name too, huh?
It was a great name. Yeah, it really was.
It's pretty cool. There's a youth club named the St. Louis Stars now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did a good job branding and everything.
How about the branding and everything?
Yeah, it looks the same.
Very cool. So it's still around.
Yeah,
it's still around. Yeah. So it's just How many St. Louis kids are actually in the league right now? Do you know, like a ballpark?
Oh,
Just
gosh.
a ballpark.
Yeah, I want to say under 10, but I think there's a good handful.
Yeah,
under
pretty
10.
good.
Yeah, still good though. Yeah, I think we're still, obviously Josh is still playing in England. Tim Ream just moved back.
Overseas.
Josh Sargent's in England. He's playing for Norwich.
Yeah.
I know there's speculation for him to potentially come back to MLS at some point. But Patrick Schulte, he's a goalie in Columbus. Joe Willis is a goalkeeper in Nashville. So there's definitely a handful of guys still playing and doing well. So, hopefully maybe one of the Simon Betcher, he played at St. Louis University, and his grandfather started a club called Norco, which is Norco Soccer Club in North County. So it's cool to see Simon back playing for City. Like that for me
that's cool.
It's amazing to watch because obviously he spent a lot of years with him at SLU, but then I know his family being from St. Louis really enjoys it as well.
And then how many St. Louis, you touched on it briefly, how many St. Louis coaches are in the league?
Yeah, I think Pat Noonan is one that's done extremely well right now, right?
Yeah.
He's the head coach at Cincinnati.
Okay.
Steve Ralston's the assistant coach at San Jose. So yeah, they're still out there. There's a lot of them that are just still doing great work, and I'll be interested to see which direction the club chooses to go with moving forward with the sporting director and the new coach.
Right,
but
new guys.
Yeah, well, hopefully, we can keep building momentum. I thought Coach Critchley did a great job.
Yep.
Towards the end of the year, I thought the team played better. I thought when they got healthy finally and found their identity, I really believe this team would have made the playoffs if they would have stayed healthy and maybe didn't make them. I didn't think the first coach. I thought he was a good coach, but maybe didn't fit the club as well as it could have. And I think if you don't make maybe that mistake, I think the club's probably pushing to make the playoffs right now.
Yeah. How do you think your guys would do up against them in a friendly?
No, they would win for sure. We play the second team every spring.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
oh, good.
which is cool. And
great.
Those are usually great games. I mean, those are usually 1-goal games or.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
It's pretty competitive in
Sticking
terms of.
right with them.
Yeah, it's because if you think about most second teams are some younger guys that sign homegrown contracts.
The age is.
But they have some older guys that graduated, so it's kind of a mixture. It's like a 16-year-old to 25-year-old, as we're like 18 and 23.
Yeah.
24. So it's similar age groups. And so, that's always a great game for us in the spring to just, always test ourselves. But the first team, they're at a different level.
Yeah. Short-term goal for you as
win
coach
as many
right
games.
now.
Yeah, just really kind of continue on it so that can, that I would say sustainable excellence.
Yeah.
As a hard thing to do. I think you see this with the Cardinals. They did this for so long.
So, yeah.
You know what I mean? So well for so long, sorry. And obviously they've hit some bumps in the road as of late, but that's hard to do. It's hard to make the playoffs every year. The consistency of it, really kind of building a program that year in and year out has success and competes for championships.
And again, with the pool and the NIL thing, makes it a little bit more difficult.
Always another
to have a long-term plan.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Kind of goes out the window.
Makes it more challenging. That's for sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
We had 2 freshmen score for us on Saturday, right? So we're playing a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores.
It's good to see that, right?
It's cool. Yeah, it's good to see them competing and doing well. It's not easy, but definitely, if guys are good enough, doesn't matter what age they are. As long as they can get the job done.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you now. This is just off the soccer thing, but what's your favorite restaurant to eat in St. Louis? In St. Louis, give me 2 or 3. I won't put you on the spot.
You are putting me on the spot.
Give me 2 or 3. Give me 4. If you want to give me 4, you give me 4.
Oh, so there's a restaurant called Pueblo Nuevo in North County. It was a Mexican restaurant.
Oh yeah.
That was
good Mexican. I hear is hard to find in St. Louis.
Very good. Yes. I'm a Peroni's pizza guy.
Yeah, great North County
pizza.
Been around forever, man.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I've had Peroni's.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go another old staple. I go to the St. Ferdinand fish fry still.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hard.
So those aren't restaurants.
Hard to beat those fish fries.
Those are old school. Unique
fish
places
fries.
that we've all grew up on, and that we still visit every once in a while.
Yeah.
But so many good restaurants in St. Louis. Honestly,
well, yeah.
There's Olive and Oak. I mean, there's so many good ones that and obviously there's so many on the hill that we're obviously lucky to have that. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I just had Jamie and Stevie Komarek on before you, owners of Trattoria Marcella, Mia Sorella.
Okay.
And
Carnivore is one of my big favorites.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love Carnivore.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, that's
Joe Smagala.
he does a great job.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
you got the McBrides helping out a little bit over here at Marconi Mercado.
That's right.
Little soccer flair in there, which is great. But yeah, we're such a great culinary scene here in St. Louis.
really
so I always ask all my guests that, whether they're in the business or not. Just to have a little something fun to talk about.
That's it.
And what you do day in and day out.
Right.
But anyway, hey, thanks for doing the show.
Thanks for
Mike.
having me. I really
Best
appreciate
of
it.
luck.
Yeah, thanks a bunch.
Yeah, moving forward.
Yeah.
We have a great rest of the season, and hope you guys make the playoffs and go far.
I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
You bet. Thanks for doing it.
You got it.
All right.
Supper Club brought to you by Kuna Food Service, a family-owned tradition since 1918. The Pasta House Company Restaurants. Lordo's Diamonds, your family jeweler for life.
Oliva on the Hill.
Barquette Realty, nationwide real estate investor.
And Fresta Limoncello. Keep sipping, my friends.